This is episode 5 out of 6 of my ZBLL series. In this set, essentially you have these two on the left side being the same, and these two on the right side being the opposite. And essentially the next video I'll be covering is where these two are the same and these two are the opposite. And so yeah, just try not to mix those up. And yeah, if this criteria matches, then one of the cases that I'll be showing today will be applicable. So here's the first case. Most of you probably already know it. Essentially, you have all of the edges being permuted, and you have this block right here. So essentially, it's just kind of a three-corner cycle here. You want to not get it mixed up with this case, where you do have a block here, but not all of the edges are permuted, because these two still need to be swapped. And so, yeah, you need to have all of the edges permuted, and this block being right here. And so this is the alg that you'll do. And if for whatever reason you don't know that alg yet, essentially it's just, let's see. If you know this, it's just sexy sledge, but it's kind of like you start with a fat R and then you finish the alg. And see, here it is a bit faster. I locked up somehow. There we go. So here's the first, next case, sorry. Essentially, you look here, so you have these two being the same, like the regular COLL case, and you have this bar here, and this sticker is opposite to this sticker, and so that's all you need to know. You have this bar, and these two are opposites. You can kind of see it resemble this sort of U-perm here. If I take away these stickers, you can see how there's a resemblance there, and this is the alg you do. So essentially, you just start with RU2R prime, and then you do the Winter variation for this case. Essentially, it's just sledge canceling into this OLL, and it goes like that. And yeah, here it is a bit faster. So, here's the next case, and it's the same case that I showed you on the first case. That's really similar to it. Essentially, yeah, once again, you do have this block, but you can't let that mislead you, because not all of the edges are solved. When you these two are solved in relation to each other, but these two still need to be swapped. And so, when you recognize this case, this is the alg you'll do. Let's see, setting it up. I don't really know how to break it down, but you just kind of do this part. But once you get here, it's just a double sexy, and then, so I guess that breaks it down a little bit. And yeah, here's the alg a bit faster. Here's the next case. Essentially, you have this bar here, and you have these two being opposite. And so it is really similar to the second case I showed you, but instead of the bar being on this front side, it's on the right side. And this is the alg you'll do. And so this is actually pretty easy to memorize. Essentially, you start with the commutator that sort of takes out this corner, sorry. You insert that corner, and you just finish this F12 pair. And so here's the alg a bit faster. Here's the next case. Essentially, once again, you do have this vertical bar, or like it's kind of on the right side, like the last case, except instead of these two being opposite, they're adjacent. And this is the alg you'll do. Breaking it down, essentially you do F prime U prime to take out this pair, then L prime U to L, and then a U prime. And if you know a T-perm, when you look at the last four moves, you can kind of see a resemblance here. This ends in RU, R prime, F prime, and this is just the mirror, so like that. And yeah, here's the alg a bit faster. So, here's the next case. Essentially, you just recognize it by this sort of U-perm pattern here. You can see the resemblance here. It's just a standard, I think this is UA perm. It's just, yeah, you can kind of see how these four stickers kind of match right here. And the alg isn't very good. I mean, you could either do the alg or just do OLL and the U-perm. But if you want to learn the alg, here it is. And so essentially, you start with F, sexy, and then R prime, F prime, and then you do a U2R, and then you just kind of insert those two pairs. And so yeah, here it is a bit faster. Alright, here's the next case. Essentially, once again, you do have this sort of U-perm pattern going on here, The resemblance is a little harder to see just because you don't really have this opposite pair here, but you can still recognize the U-perm. You can kind of see the resemblance here. If you can't recognize it this way, then I guess you can kind of just see that on this side there is this sort of U-perm pattern still with the opposite sticker here. And so this is the alg you'll do. And so let's see, breaking that down. Essentially, you start with an F, U prime, B prime, and then you do R2, U prime, R2, kind of set up these pairs opposite of each other, and then you do a U, and then another R2, and then you kind of just solve the cube. Yeah, here it is a bit faster. Here is the 8th case. Essentially, what you have here is, well, you have this bar here, but the way I kind of recognize it is just this sort of misaligned U-perm. And so you can kind of see here, let's see. From this angle, the U-perm is sort of misaligned because the bar is kind of on the side as opposed to being on the front or back. Yeah, here's the resemblance. And so yeah, you can recognize it either way or just use both. And yeah, here's the alg you'll do. Let's see if I can set this up. Okay, I don't know how to reverse the alg, but essentially the alg just goes, you essentially do RU, take out the pair, so you RU R prime, U, and then another RU R prime, then you just do a U2, you kind of join this pair, insert it, and insert that last one. And so yeah, here it is a bit faster. Here is case 9. Essentially, yeah, once again, you do have a sort of misaligned U-perm, except here you do have these two being opposite. And so yeah, here is what it looks like. Just, you can kind of see the resemblance here. And once again, the bar is on the side as opposed to being on the front or back. And yeah, here it is. And this is the alg you'll do. Essentially, you can start with an M, and then you kind of do a fat inverse sledgehammer, or fat hedge slammer. And then you just have this winter variation case, which is just sexy and insert. And here's the alg a bit faster. Oops, sorry. Here is the next case. This one's pretty easy to recognize. Essentially here, you have pretty much just a Z-perm pattern. And it's just these two edges need to be swapped. And yeah, here is what the resemblance is like on a regular Z-perm. And this is the alg you'll do. And so, let's see. Essentially, here, it's not the best alg, but yeah, you do RUR to kind of take out this pair, D, R prime U2 R, and then you kind of, to solve this pair, you kind of set them up, and then you just kind of cancel into this anti-soon. It's definitely a little complicated, but if you can break it down, eventually you'll be able to memorize it, sorry. And yeah, here it is a bit faster. That was a bit locky, but yeah. So here's the next case. Once again, you do have this sort of Z-perm resemblance here. And yeah, here it is for comparison. You kind of see the resemblance here. And the difference here is that instead of there being sort of like a direct swap between these two edges, the swap is kind of here and here. And it's less obvious because normally with the last case, it would be sort of like this kind of red, green pattern, or like blue, orange, something along the lines of that. But here, it's red, green, orange, blue, or something similar. And so, here's the alg you'll do. Breaking it down, essentially, you set up this F2L pair by doing just a sexy move and kind of breaking apart the pair. Then you do an L, insert this pair, and insert that last pair. And so yeah, here it is a bit faster. Oops, sorry. So here is the final case, and it's pretty easy for recognition. And essentially, yeah, you just have this sort of H-perm pattern here, where these two are opposites, and these two are opposites, just like a regular H-perm. And I guess the alg isn't necessarily great. You can probably just do OLL, PLL, and it's probably similar speed. But if you want the alg, here it is. It starts with one regrip, but the rest of the alg is pretty nice. And And so yeah, the alg definitely doesn't look good, but here it is. You take out the pair, R2 F prime, and then you kind of do RU prime R prime, and then an F. And then here, you kind of just cancel into that soon, so it would go like this. And so yeah, it looks slow, but here's the alg a bit faster. And yeah, you can see it flows pretty well, surprisingly. This is the end of my 5th episode of ZBLL. Hopefully you were able to learn some new algs, and yeah, thanks for watching.